Welcome to Llama Mama, Episode 9. It's a podcast about loom knitting. I'm your host, Kayla. Thank you for joining me today. And I want to say thank you to all the new subscribers, and thank you for the recent subscribers and the past subscribers for joining in. So today I want to share these dolls that I've been making and tell a little bit more about how to make them. Last episode I shared this bunny doll with a little pom-pom tail and little movable arms, and I've made this little bear doll with the little pom-pom ears, and they seem to be a big hit. And I already had a bunch more babies in progress, and so let me see, I don't know that I can hold them all up at the same time. It's 6 of them. I'll just do a few at a time, 2 at a time here. I made this purple. It's a bright neonish purple, and this green here. And what these are just, I call them diaper babies, because I just have their little bare legs and feet, and then I made a diaper, a shirt, and their little hands, and a hat with a pom-pom. So I made this lime green, and I think I got this lime green at Walmart. I believe it's Red Heart yarn. And this bright electric purple, I love this yarn. It came from Hobby Lobby. And then here's a yellow one, and this yarn came from Joann's, and I'm sure it was a Red Heart though. And then here's a blue one, and I know I got this yarn at Walmart. And here's a pink one. I believe that yarn came from Walmart too, or it could have been Joann's. And then here's this bright orange, and I know that came from Walmart. So anyway, it's a simple little doll, and I want to share with y'all how it's made. Basically, you're just making a tube. And I did not invent this type of doll. I don't know who was the original creator of this. I've seen them crocheted, I've seen them knitted, I've seen them loom knitted, and I've seen them made on the Addi machine. But the basic concept for the doll is you have shoes, legs, shirt, and a face and a hat. But you can change it up where if you want a big head, you just use your same flesh color and make a big head and not a hat. And like I said, you know, this one I didn't do any shoes. I did legs, and then I did a diaper. So you just change it up ever how you want. And what I'm doing is five rows for the shoes, 16 rows for my legs. I do know that some people make them 14 rows for the legs, but with 14 rows for the legs and 12 rows for the shirt, just wasn't quite proportioned correctly for me. So I did 16 legs, 12 shirt, 10 face, and 11 hat size. So basically you're just making this long tube. This is a tube all the way through, and you sew up the end of the shoes like you was closing off a hat, and then you would sew for the legs. You would sew right up your middle here, just where your yarn and a tapestry needle, just one of your big ad plastic or metal tapestry needles. I have metal and plastic. I just, whichever one's the closest is what I grab. So you would just sew up your shoe, like I said, and sew that little section up with your shoe color, and then just sew your legs, just go in and out, back and forth, from front to back, making your little leg section, and it creates these little puffy, fat legs when you stuff them. And then to stuff them, once I sew up my legs, I just kind of roll this down some and stuff each leg. But you don't want to stuff it too tight because you don't want your stuffing to show. So if your stuffing's showing, just pull that out and restuff it with less stuffing until you can't see any stuffing showing through. And then once you finish that off at the top, you just, drawstring it up, tie it up like you was closing off a hat. And you'd end up with this. And then you can take yarn, weave in and out all the way around, and it would tie your head off like this for your neck. And then for the eyes, I take like black embroidery, or you can use yarn or whatever type of thread that you have. I thread my needles. I go in from the back of the head. First off, I take needles and I figure out where, not needles, push pins, I'm sorry. And I figure out where I want my eyes to be, and I put a push pin there. And then I go in through the back of the head and I come up right beside that. And then I grab with my needle, I'll go around that little section 2, maybe 3 times, depending on how big you want your eyes. And then from there, just go in your stuffing some and come up the other side and go around a couple of times. Excuse me. And then take your needle back through the back of your head, right through the eye. Just go right back through the back and then just snip it off. And you'll have your eyes there. I made these, and then I was asking my son what kind of game characters I could make, because I had all kinds of ideas running through my head, like I could make anybody. So we both thought of Mario at the same time, and I was like, oh yeah, I could make Mario and Luigi. So I made these fellas, and you can see they have the shoes, the pants, and instead of going right into the shirt, I brought the pants up some to make overalls. And then a shorter section for the shirt. And then I made a little I-cord with, I think I made this I-cord with 3 pegs on a small gauge loom. And I just made 1 strip. I sewed it here, brought it around the back of the neck, back to here, and sewed it back through. So that kind of made the strap for the overalls, but you can see it just goes around the back of the neck. And for the brim of their hats, I took a small gauge loom and I just did like a E-wrap cast on, like an E-wrap cast on, but I just E-wrapped around and then purled back to the first peg, E-wrapped, and then purled back to the first peg. And I did 4 sets of that. And then the stretchy bind off, the super stretchy bind off. And then just laid it on the hat and sewed it on along that line. And it made a little brim for the hat. And then for his mustache, I used 2 pegs to make an I-cord. So they turned out really cute. And this one, actually, I was thinking of making Princess Peach, is that her name, to go with them, but then I might end up turning her into somebody else, or I might make that, I don't know. We'll just see how that goes. But these dolls can definitely be made on any loom. You can put them on the 24 peg. And if you E-wrap, I know a lot of people prefer to E-wrap because it's faster. If you E-wrap, I would definitely use 2 strands of yarn. If you're using like the number 4, like Red Heart Super Saver, you would want to use 2 strands. And the way I use 2 strands is I use some from my strand from the middle section and a strand from coming off to the side, so I can use 2 strands off of 1 roll. Some people might take these off on a ball winder and make 2 separate balls, but I don't have time for that. So I just pull from the center and pull from the outside and use my strand as 1. So you can make these on the 24 peg. Like I said, you know, if you use E-wrap, you want to use 2 strands. If you use U-knit, your doll might be a little smaller, but you know, in the end you stretch out those stitches, and but it would be a little smaller than it would be if it was than E-wrap. But U-knit doesn't show stuffing as much, so it kind of is a better stitch for stuffed animals. You could also make these on like a 20 peg. This is a 20 peg Cindy wood loom. It's just a little slightly, it's the same gauge, but just slightly smaller than this 4 peg smaller. But I use this a little bit smaller one for fingerless gloves. You could also make these on a flower loom. They would just be a lot smaller. And if you was looking for smaller size dolls, or if you wanted to make these smaller and make charms or backpack pulls or even Christmas ornaments or such, just make them on a flower loom and let them be smaller. Adjust your, of course you wouldn't use 16 rows for your legs. You would just shorten all that. You could make them on a 31 peg loom, and you definitely could, you know, make them on the 36 peg loom. It would be more like pillow size for a toddler to drag around with them. And you can make it on the 41 peg too if you want it much larger. So just decide what size you want it and make yours. And then you can on these dolls, like on this one, I just added a brim. I did 10 rows for the face and 11 rows for the hat, and I just added a brim to make that his hat. For these, I just added some ears for that one and this one. I just added ears. For these, I just added a pom-pom on top and left that as the hat. Now you definitely, I don't want my looms to fall and any pegs get broke. I'll just use this one for an example. I didn't make it for this, but since this don't have anything on the head, you could definitely add hair to them. And if you were going to add hair, I would, instead of the hat, when you got to that, I would use whatever color you're going to make your hair. That way you don't have to make your yarn as thick when you're adding the hair, because it'll be showing the hair color through it. But you could also make hats to go on them, just with the same loom that you made. Whatever size loom you made your doll on, just make a hat to go on it. You can make different types of hats, or just hair. You can add accessories on them. I was looking for other examples. I do have some in the making, but that's for a later video. So you can definitely make these on the looms, and you can also make these on the Addi Express. And I know this is kind of pricey, and if you aren't familiar with the knitting machines, you might not want to just run out and buy this machine without knowing that if you really like those or not. So this is a much cheaper investment. And I did see at Joann's earlier in the month, earlier July, that they had these on clearance for like $19.99. They had my Joann's that I visit is 2.5 hours from me, but they had a whole shelf of these. And I know they sell these on Amazon for $20 to $25. So these are great for cranking out these dolls. If you were going to make a lot of these to give as gifts, or to have for craft fairs, this would be your way to go. And I did share this on a previous video, last video I believe. My particular machine only likes Red Heart. From watching YouTube videos about machines like this, these machines, like each machine is a little different. One machine might like Vanna's Choice, one machine might like Impeccable, one might like Red Heart. Mine likes Red Heart, and that's good because I like Red Heart. Red Heart's cheap, it's easy to get. I usually buy Red Heart at like Walmart's because I have 3 different Walmart stores in my area here that I tend to shop. So I pick up Red Heart from there, and also Michael's is close to me, and I pick up Red Heart from there. My son actually works at Michael's, so if they have Red Heart on sale, I definitely go there and get it, because I can also get his employee discount along with that, so that's nice to have. That's an extra 30% off, so I definitely stock up whenever it's on sale. But anyway, so if you wanted to crank these out quickly, this is the way to go. And I wanted to tell about the arms. So to make my arms, I made these drawstring cast on 12 pegs. So that's half of this. I have a mark here from my anchor peg around here. I drawstring cast on. I do my U-knit back and forth, and do my flesh color, and then I change to the shirt color and U-knit back and forth. And you just decide how much you want your hands. Actually, on these I did 10 rows of flesh and 10 rows of color, because I didn't want I didn't want long sleeve, I wanted short sleeves. So it's kind of the hand and part of the arm. These I did 6 rows for the hands, and the rest was the shirt. So you just decide. And on these right here, I just did it solid. So you just kind of decide, how long you want your shirt sleeve to be, your arms, or if you were doing like, say, a mermaid, and you didn't want any sleeves, you just wanted it all flesh. That's an option also. And like I said, I was changing these up. For these, I did 16 for the legs, 5 for the diaper, 12 for the shirt, 10 for the face, and 11 for the hat. And then you can just look online, or any cartoon characters that your kids might be into, or grandkids love to watch. You can turn those into a doll for them, and I bet they would love it. So just use your imagination and get creative. I'm trying to think, is there anything else I wanted to say about those? I have lots of projects coming up. I've been working on my box of projects that I showed last week. I got a few of those completed, but not nearly enough. I have to admit that I had these going already, so I did want to finish these up. But then, I don't know where these came from. They just popped out. So I got to get back on my box of projects and work on that. So I really just need to get some of those completed. But that's all, I guess, for the dolls. If you have any questions about them, please comment below and ask questions. I'll be glad to help you in any way that I can. Oh, my arms. I did want to tell how I make the movable arms. So after I make the, I'll cast on 20 pegs. No, excuse me. 12 pegs, 20 rows. Yes. Where'd it go? Oh, I cast on 12 pegs and I U-knit 20 rows back and forth. Then I'll drawstring cast off. Do I have an arm over here? Yes. Here's an arm. And it comes out about like this. And you can see this is the hand and this is the arm. And it's not sewed up in the back. So I would take my brown here and sew up this little part, and this actually is a hoof. So I would sew up my hoof, sew up the leg, and these do have some stuffing in them. So right when I get to the end of this, I'd stuff that, push some stuffing down there with my finger, and this is U-knit, so you can stuff that a little better than you can E-wraps. So stuff that up, and then just drawstring it on up and sew it together there. So one arm you're going to need a long thread. It's not this arm. This arm, when you finished, it wouldn't have any threads. So imagine all this cut and it would just be an arm like this. Your second arm, okay, imagine all this cut, and your second arm would have a long thread. So the way I do that, I thread my needle, I figure out where I want my arms, and I mark those with pins. I hold my arms up here and decide where I want my arms at. So I have that threaded, and I go all the way through with my needle and pull that yarn all the way through, so that this is up here, and I have this yarn through the body and out this other side. Now I'll take this thread, this yarn here, and I go through this arm and pull the yarn out, and then I push it up to the body there, and then I go back through, not the same stitch, but maybe like the stitch above or stitch below, and then I try to go back in the same hole that I came out of, and then over here I come out of the same hole, and then I just pull that really, really tight, and sometimes it does like draw the body in kind of like that, but you can fluff it back out. You can see these are kind of drawn in a little bit, and I just kind of fluff them back out. But you want to tie off that thread and run it through the body and out somewhere and slip it and tie it off. And it creates movable arms. You can find a YouTube video to show you how to do that. Just Google or search on YouTube. And I may not say this word correctly, amigurumi movable arms. And you'll find videos to help you learn to do that. To me, it's so much easier just to make movable arms than it is to sew each arm on. It's faster just to make the movable arms to me. And, you know, it makes a cuter doll if the arms move and such. So, good luck with that, and I hope you're able to make lots of these dolls and make lots of little children happy with them. So I'll hop on off here and let you get back to your day. But thank you for joining me, and I appreciate it. Give me a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll see you next time.